through the field, and next to try and overtake is Lando Norris in the McLaren.
Hoping things work out this time. Already looking slightly better, and it's getting worse again. Damn. Anyways, George is closing in now at 38. Coming up on 8th, Lando.
What's going to be interesting in a few moments, though, is Charles Leclerc is getting very close to the back of Yuki Tsunoda, running down in 18th. He's got a lot of cars to try and lap and find his way through in a very short space of time. And that's going to just halt his progress to a certain extent. Carlos Sainz currently 6.4 seconds behind. We'll be hoping, I'm sure, as he's still got ambitions to win this race, that he can't do it that easily.
So Max, at this stage, recommend you just match Hamilton's lap times. 10-0. Why? Because there are 35 laps to do it. Free to push, Max. Free to push.
This is the greatest Max Verstappen quote I've ever heard.
A lot cleaner air than the lots of was right behind Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, it was kind of what I was saying, isn't it? Red Bull are now matching. They're racing Mercedes for third and fourth.
Yeah.
That's kind of we've given up. Ferrari have got us today.
Well, seems that way at the moment, but we are just over halfway distance in this race, and every time we go on board, and I look up to the sky, Martin, where I can see bits of blue around the Red Bull ring, I can see quite a few dark.
Shut up, Crofty.
Now, the official risk of rain was about 10%, but this for Red Bull. And we have another 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits, and this time it's Joe Guan Yu's turn to fall foul of the stewards, and there are those clouds that I was referring to. We're on board.
Joe and George sound alike. I thought he was about to say George Russell. I don't know. Duo, this track is over 2.5 miles, I think. Well, no, it's just under. I think it's 2.4, 2.3. It's about the same length as Watkins Glen, Daytona. Oh! Seb! I mean, you hate to see a retirement for Sebastian Vettel, but I was kind of hoping he got stuck in the gravel there for a safety car.
For the Aston Martin. So Sebastian Vettel makes his way back out onto the track again, but I wonder if that's just deposited a load of gravel and rubbish on the racing line that wouldn't be wanted.
There were some bits of carbon off the racing line around down there as well. A little bit more came off the AlphaTauri.
That's a hole in the side pod for Sergio Perez that forced him to retire from this race. So Vettel now down in 17th. We're back on board with Lando Norris again, who's running in 8th place. The clouds look ever more threatening ahead of him. Out in front, Max Verstappen
Please rain.
continuing to push. Now he's been told by the team that he can push. Will he need to stop again if he matches this pace? Can Ferrari go to
George is in.
just on a one-stopper as George Russell comes in for what is his second stop in this race? He kind of got bogged down behind.
Those looked used.
So they decided at Mercedes that it's a two-stop race. This one.
I don't know.
We need to bring you in, and Russell will come out around about 11th. As down the inside goes Lando Norris on Kevin Magnussen.
Norris passes Magnussen.
Saw that coming and knew he couldn't defend it too stoutly. And
Oh!
he would get a decent
No, he doesn't have the slipstream. Wait a minute.
but Norris has got DRS just to help
Nope.
him out and keep him ahead. Lando Norris will stay in 7th.
Leclerc had a horrible lap on the previous one. I think it was because he came across the yellow flags for Vettel's spin and contact there. So Verstappen is now back within a pit stop of the Ferraris and catching them.
And a 5-second penalty for Pierre Gasly for causing that collision with
So
Sebastian
Gasly has
Vettel.
10 seconds now.
Are Ferrari thinking, Martin, well, we can hang this out to the end.
He's going to finish last right now.
Again, and will they have enough time and pace to try and get past Verstappen? Because if they do stop, then it might just be that Verstappen's ahead of them once more. This race has
Magnussen
got
pits.
plenty to unfold before we get to the checkered flag.
We'll see if Ferrari start picking the pace up a little bit, because I think they'll need to. I think they'll go through this phase.
I just got a report from Twitter, Hamilton track limits. Not a penalty, but, you know, the black and white flag.
The tyre supplier was it's a one-stop race. The quickest race here is a one-stop race. And at the moment, we're getting a mixture of strategy, which always causes excitement. As Lewis Hamilton
And George has jumped Magnussen.
for exceeding track limits, one more of those.
So George should jump Norris as well.
Meanwhile, his teammate George Russell, having pitted, is now past Joe Guan Yu and up into 11th place. And behind these comes Kevin Magnussen, who's got Yuki Tsunoda right behind him.
Oh man, Russell's almost a lap down.
Way through the field and laps some of the back markers, which Tsunoda does well to keep out of the way.
Now, if Leclerc was to pit, then he would be behind Verstappen, but with fresher tyres. So I just wonder what Ferrari are thinking now. Do they go
Drew around the outside there. But Lewis Hamilton had a black and white flag and then had another track limit. So
that might be the next lap.
it might be. Well, that's,
And if it was at turn 10, then you get the next lap deleted. So I think we're still waiting for one more transgression for it to get a penalty on that one. So
yeah.
look, lap 10 and then lap 10.
10.
It's a bit confusing on the screen because they're all popping up, but I'm trying to keep a tally. It's Lando Norris into the pits. Absorbing race, this really is. And one thing I would say, the pace that Max Verstappen's running at the moment, there are not enough laps before the checkered flag for Ferrari to see this one out at their current pace. They're either going to have to up it or pit again and then find the pace that way.
We'll see if they've got anything, if they're just nursing the tyres through this phase. But Verstappen is still about a pit stop off Leclerc.
George Russell, super little move. 9th, Schumacher still in the points in 10th as Esteban Ocon comes into the pits, and Daniel Ricciardo for a second pit stop as well in a McLaren that's going along quite nicely for him this afternoon.
Yeah, Russell's showing some great speed now, isn't he, at this phase of the Grand Prix? So we are seeing some side-by-side action, but unfortunately, and the cars seem to be...
Here goes Mick Schumacher down the inside on Lance Stroll. Nice. Schumacher up to 9th, but Stroll will get DRS and he'll fight that one back down into turn 3. Everywhere you look, there's side-by-side action. Yeah, we saw
This race has been awesome. Not as good as last week, but oh, look at Stroll! Lance Stroll! Oh my...
Unfold before the checkered flag, but you wouldn't want to predict that this is the way it is going to stop. Certainly not as he looked down the main straight to see Lance Stroll looking in his mirrors. Did rather, but of course both Hasses had DRS.
Yeah.
And Stroll did. The DRS is making quite a difference in terms of enabling you to pull alongside.
Yeah, the Haas has been mighty around this track and mighty in a straight line as well.
Let's just see it from Kevin Magnussen's perspective. He's watching it unfold. He knows where his teammate's going. You can see where Lance Stroll is, and then, oh, look, there's a gap.
Yeah, it was clipping there, wasn't it? You could see the red lights flicking on the back of the Aston Martin there as it was regenerating the battery. She's obviously been leaning heavily on the battery to defend on the previous lap.
And there's our race leader, Charles Leclerc, and he's been picking his way through the back markers, and he's only got Fernando Alonso to go now. The gap down to 5 seconds between himself and Carlos Sainz. Now, Max Verstappen...
Yo, Ocon, why are you hopping out? He's Leclerc. He's the race leader. You are a lap down.
And Charles Leclerc.
Now, Ocon.
He's got to pick his way through the back markers before, as well, I should say.
Oh my god, this...
Therefore, he's going to...
Ocon.
...the same way that the Ferraris have a little bit. Esteban Ocon is a lap down. And he's running in...
Not anymore.
Currently, such as with the pace of the 2 Ferraris out in front.
So Ocon's just pitted for fresh tyres. I think he's just unlapped himself.
Yeah,
that's what's going on there, wasn't it? So ahead now of Leclerc, he's got Ocon. I'm just going to say, all he's got to do is pass Alonso. Then
Come on.
Half a lap clear there.
George has to unlap himself or else he's doomed. 7th will be the best he could get. Yeah. Oh wait, no. People always unlap themselves. Leclerc pits. It's not over yet.
In the garage as far as tyres go on, Crofty. It's a steady stop, not as quick as their first, and he's away. So we're going to have another barnstorming final phase here. Ferrari, I think they've got the pace to cover Red Bull with any strategy. Well, we're going to find out.
We are, because Verstappen has gone through, and he now ahead of Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz leads this race. It was a 2.4
This thing's about over, I think. I don't know how Verstappen's going to hang on unless he converts himself back to his last year self where he just wrecks everybody.
So he's still on 13-lap younger tyres than Leclerc. But I think Ferrari realising, look,
if assured on their strategy here this afternoon than maybe they were at Silverstone 7 days ago. Ferrari getting it right, it seems, at the moment, as Carlos Sainz is told to box and to come in.
They should keep signs out. Oh man.
The pit lane limiter on 80 kilometers an hour, trundles down the pit straight. And looking at the final corner, Max Verstappen going through, Charles Leclerc going through. Where does Carlos Sainz feed back out onto the track? There goes Verstappen, there goes Leclerc.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, isn't it? So, both Ferraris got to overtake Verstappen one more time. They want to have a 1-2 here that they're threatening, but you know, it doesn't sound much as a
Hard tyre. He does have to stop again.
How is so slow? Car deliberately to the right. Doesn't have got any more damage or not.
So George Russell just hasn't got the pace. He doesn't feel that he wants to.
Oh, Latifi is out.
Never looked like he had the pace for whatever.
He was so good, he got sidelined.
Today, retires from this race, becomes the second driver to retire from this race. So Alonso's going to have to stop again. Hamilton doesn't have to stop again.
Hamilton's boxing.
Stop again, in this
Doesn't
race.
even matter.
So
Alonso's not going to catch him. This isn't going to change anything.
Well, there's no harm, is there? No harm at all. So Gasly failed to serve the time, and but Lewis may as well pay it.
It's a slow stop, but it's the medium tyre. So we're going to have fireworks from Lewis Hamilton, the only one. The Ferraris both putting the hard tyre on in their stops just a couple of laps ago. Lewis has gone with an attacking final stint on the
set of soft tyres. I think he was the only one with a new set of soft tyres running in the top 10 at the moment to go onto the softs at the end. But they still think the medium's obviously a bit more durable.
Yeah, well, remember that, you know, for example, Verstappen only got 13 laps out of a set of mediums at the start of the race, albeit with full tanks, of course.
Right, tanks have emptied now. Lots happened since the start of the race. Started in second place. Charles Leclerc has never won a Grand Prix without starting on pole position. But maybe
Here it comes.
this is the time he breaks that duck, because he's really coming at Verstappen here.
Can Verstappen get DRS off of those lap cars, please? This might get good if he can, but he doesn't right here. No chance. No chance. Oh. Easy pass.
He was pinched up tight on the hill of turn 3. He was always going to struggle for traction through the exit, but he's not happy. Is he inside that Red Bull? The Ferrari clearly faster. Leclerc knew this yesterday. Why didn't he coast up behind him in the sprint race and do this? I don't fully understand. There was another point available. He realised he wasn't going to get it done. Max is compromised by such a tight entry to the corner, and Leclerc then could straighten the car up, get himself a really tremendous exit. Max is the one then at the detection point who gets the rear wing and has another go down into turn 4. But,
Shoot me with track limits.
It's been 3 relatively easy passes, hasn't it?
It has. There might be another one coming up soon as well, because Carlos Sainz is making amends from third place with a new fresh set of tyres and is closing in fast on the Red Bull. Verstappen starting on pole here after leading from start to finish the last 3 consecutive races. Well, looks like he's going to be undone by not one but potentially 2 Ferraris here this afternoon. Leclerc leads from Verstappen and Sainz.
George.
We're watching George Russell and Fernando Alonso. Russell currently running in 7th, Alonso 6th, but he will have to stop again in this race. Hamilton currently running in 4th on the medium tyre.
There we go.
Carlos Sainz.
There we
Carlos Sainz was catching Max
Can this be a
Verstappen.
sign?
It's down to you.
Ocon's the point, isn't he? Ocon has got Russell behind then Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Magnussen.
Can Carlos win?
From a incident early.
By a power by 40%.
Nobody wants a VSC.
To a certain time, and the
They're so useless.
on the scene there, just to make sure Carlos Sainz
Like,
physically is okay.
It's a safety car, but we don't get the excitement.
And no wonder, because he was doing absolutely everything he needed to do, and then bang, the engine goes. And oh,
That almost looked like water.
when they get it right with strategy, something lets them down.
Yeah, he tried to get it out of the way. He tried to go and find a service exit point.
Into the pits,
Fire is
Fernando
in.
Alonso, who had to
And
pit
Leclerc.
again, and Charles Leclerc.
And Verstappen.
It only cost you about 10 seconds of lap time. We might see a few more in. Max Verstappen's also coming in. 2, and that's the medium tyres going on to the Ferrari and to the Red Bull.
because they had a big gap behind them. Those
2.3
two, and
second.
they don't want to get caught out with not having enough grip on the restart. So with Sainz out and Hamilton a long way back, it's effectively a free stop. Ferrari had to react to that, had to get in the pits.
So they did. The tyres changed to mediums, and let's see if that alters the dynamic between now and the end of the race. And our driver of the day, vote closes in 11 laps. He was a candidate for that potentially. Penny for your thoughts, Carlos Sainz, 7 days on from your first victory in Formula One. Another podium taken away from you through no fault of your own here at the Red Bull Ring. And you have to feel for him, you really do.
So let's see if they can get that car clear. The advantage of a full safety car is it takes the closer the pack up, and they can be round the other side while you're out there. But it's in the firing. If somebody had a brake failure coming into turn 4, whatever, it's right in the firing line. The recovery there, and we haven't seen it lately. That was whether they managed to get it. Did we see a shot of that through the barriers and into the safe area?
We might see on board with Lewis Hamilton in a moment. He's making his way down towards turn 4. But certainly the car was rolling.
Yeah.
Sainz wanted to leap out.
I'm trying to put a wedge under it.
It's just got a wedge under it. It's just going now.
That was the vehicle, wasn't it? It was a safety vehicle just going through the gap.
Virtual safety car is ending. And this is the moment that Carlos Sainz hopes of another podium in Formula One.
Popped.
Went with Ferrari's 4th mechanical failure in a race this season.
Oh, look at the things blowing up and smashing the side pods to bit. Oh, I mean, that was a proper hand grenade of an engine blow up, wasn't it? And of course,
in more ways than one.
yeah, of course, that'll mean penalties down the road for, in there to sort of give you the feel of some kind of linear throttle. And as soon as anything changes, exactly. You're so at one with these cars.
And to make it worse for Charles Leclerc, the ecstasy, Martin, of leading a race here, a potential victory for the first time when he hasn't started on pole, but he also knows that he's retired from 2 races this season through no fault of his own whilst leading the race. And look at
The car is toast.
at the back of that.
It's toast.
It's not going to tee
Leclerc fastest lap. It's over.
That's,
Max fastest lap. It is not quite over.
Of the motor on this leading Ferrari. So Max goes fastest lap, but he was only 2/10 quicker than Charles up front. And And
from data, everything is fine on the throttle pedal.
Yeah, it's okay now.
Copy.
Okay, phew, everything's okay in the cockpit of car number 16. Verstappen, though, he is closing in on him, and there are back markers that are going to come into play here as well. Verstappen, he's got about, Lando Norris, 3 seconds to try and get up close and personal to Mick Schumacher.
I had to do driver of the day. Finished 4th.
onto the podium again.
George Russell, driver of the day.
What's happening with the photo?
My God. This is not needed throttle. Well, having a stuck throttle is helping him because he's pulling away by 2/10. Maybe it's the... I don't...
Leclerc reported potentially some issues with throttle ahead. Keep the pressure on for now.
Well, he's keeping the pressure on, is Max Verstappen. 3.6.
It's not heating up.
Next.
As far as I'm aware, there's a potentiometer and like a spring to give you the feel and that down at the throttle. And obviously there'll be sensors in there. I'm sure they're super complicated, but he must be feeling something like that in the movement.
This is an epic scrap going on for 10. Valtteri Bottas, and this is Valtteri Bottas's best.
Bottas around the outside. Takes the spot. That was P10. No, Alex. Come on. Get back up there. Get Williams in the points.
Plenty of Binotto looking at his engineers on the pit wall, like what's going.
2 seconds.
So sometimes the throttle gets stuck coming off. So try to remove it as much as you can. Remove the foot.
So it's like fouling on his boot or something, rather than
Something something's got in the movement, I would imagine, there to say that it's a potentiometer you're working and a spring.
Well, that's dangerous on many levels. Thought he was slow. That was the exit of turn 3. My God.
Lift off earlier. Lift your foot completely off the throttle.
Lap 66 of 71. 3.5 seconds the gap. That is the margin by which Max Verstappen is making a slight dent into the lead of Charles Leclerc, but he needs about half a second a lap to try and be right there on the scene on the last lap to snatch back victory, which for a long time in this race has looked pretty certain going towards Ferrari, but there's a bit of jeopardy between now and the end of the race as we see Lance Stroll making his way through the field.
Around the outside.
In 15th place.
Crofty, I'm just looking down to that Ferrari pit wall. This is going to be the longest few laps of Mattia Binotto's life. Team radio again.
This isn't going to be good. Max is catching way too quickly. Ferrari having nightmares.
I don't think I'd be wanting the stewards to hear that or race control to hear that. He's obviously pulling it back with his foot, is what he's doing, I'd imagine. He's getting his foot underneath it and pulling it back.
Just quickly,
he's now under 3. Ted.
Just quickly, Lando has served that 5-second penalty.
He has, thank you, Ted. He's made his way through the back marker. Well, I hate to say back marker. He's running in 7th place. Lando Norris.
I'm scared. We know the engine of Max and the Red Bulls are so fast.
The gap is under 3 seconds. He's got Lando Norris to try. And
Yeah, you could see he's not even full off the throttle there. I don't know if that's normal, but like, he's not full off the throttle. That's scary.
There is everything to play for in terms of the lead and the win of this race. And don't forget,
Yeah, it won't go down fully. I don't think that's normal. He certainly has like throttle hang or something like that.
An eventual victory of this race, and that gap continues to come down as the 2 leading cars make their way through some of the other cars to lap them and try to get to some clean air where Verstappen can make
Oh
a
my
Leclerc
God.
and at least see who's behind him.
No way this is happening. Austria has had last lap passes. Because Nico Rosberg turned left on Lewis Hamilton in a right-hander at turn 3. The gap has stopped closing, I think.
Let's have a look at Fernando Alonso. This is his
Oh, Albon's falling back. Rip.
The stewards are going to look at Fernando Alonso after the race for a potential release while the car is in an unsafe condition. I haven't seen exactly what happened, but there's a potential penalty coming Fernando Alonso's way. 3 laps to go. The gap 2.7 seconds out in
Yeah, no, that was
handy there.
gain.
Leclerc got a little bit of DRS from the back marker that he was going through there. That was Mick Schumacher.
So the DRS helping there. A little extra 10-mile-an-hour boost that Charles Leclerc could do with.
The coaches refused also.
Yes, it's because of the frontal penalty.
Yeah, so it's hanging on to it.
They're having all these issues.
Through this final lap, victory will be his. But it's the sort of thing that if it catches you out, you'll go sailing straight off the road.
2.2 seconds the gap now. Verstappen can
It's not happening, Crofty. We needed 75 laps or so for this thing to get interesting.
Charles Leclerc will be mightily relieved. That's the corner that he's struggling at the most. Now heading down towards turn 4, where Carlos Sainz retired from this race with an engine failure. Ferrari were looking great for a 1-2 in this race. Sainz, through no fault of his own, out of the race. 4th mechanical retirement in a race for Ferrari this year. But they've cleared that. The gap under 2 seconds. But there's not much longer in this race.
It's not going to happen.
Now overtakes Valtteri Bottas and heads into the points after starting plumb last on this grid. Charles Leclerc started 2nd in the race today. He has never won for outside pole position. He's twice.
Let's go. Leclerc victory.
He's had to cope with technical problems at the end, but Charles Leclerc has sailed through it all. He sees the checkered flag, and for the first time, other than when he's on pole, he takes victory.
And Lewis is going to get another podium, so now Lewis has more than George this year. No.
The front two were a long, long way clear, but that checkered flag arriving in the nick of time for Charles Leclerc, who now can finally smile without worry this afternoon.
And still Mercedes in there struggling, are coming home third and fourth. You look at the Constructors' Championship, it's amazing how many points they've scored in such a difficult season. Third and fourth for Max.
Such consistency.
Lewis crosses the line, finishes, and I'm just now realizing how Martin does sound kind of sick.
And a smile on the face of the former driving instructor at the Red Bull Ring, Toto Wolff. George Russell started fourth in this race, and after a first lap tangle with Sergio Perez and a 5-second penalty as a result.
This could have been a podium for George, I won't lie, but... And the top 5 streak starts again.
The rest have all been lapped.
And P1! Yes, sir! Yes!
Does this mean the championship battle's back on?
Oh my God!
Max got the fastest lap, so it's only like a 6-point gain for Charles.
Amazing job.
But
No words.
Well,
I mean,
I'll make the celebrations
it's on heading into France,
exuberant
and then Hungary,
for Charles Leclerc. As I mentioned,
and
Mick
then
Schumacher
the summer break.
points, for the second race,
4 weeks
finishing
without
sixth.
F1 might kill me. It doesn't even matter that I think there's NASCAR in all 4 of those weeks. But then there's Spa.
Okay, good effort, Max.
But then comes the Belgian Grand Prix.
Points, mate.
Yeah, tricky race out, but still second is better than third, which it was looking like. So
Yeah, good effort,
I'm
Max.
actually really scared for Spa this year. I don't know why. They changed out Rouge and Radion though, I think. I think it's more of a corner now.
Kevin Magnussen, double points